Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the North and South Rock and Metal Connection. I am your host, John Clauser, the Metal Dad, as I've been christened. To my, let's see, this would be, I'm looking at my left. So on your right, I guess it would be from the Great White North. We have Roger Serreris, who's about to throw a tantrum because of the Toronto Blue Jays. And then underneath, we've got the brothers Carson, Ben, and Jason, and we got JD Akins. How you guys doing tonight, guys?
Yeah, we're doing awesome.
All right. Other than the Blue Jays not pulling through for Roger, I think he's doing okay. So I hope.
Finally not sick.
There you go. Yes, we were supposed to record this last week, but unfortunately, I got a taste of Montezuma's revenge, so we had to put this off a week. So I thought before we got into our topic this evening, which is the year 1979 and our favorite music releases from that year, thought I'd give a little background in 1979 with a couple of odd little factoids here. So 1979, you see I'm wearing a Steelers jersey. So that year in Super Bowl 13, we saw the Steelers beat the Dallas Cowboys 35-31. Yes, I was watching that game. In the Sugar Bowl that year, this one doesn't make me so happy, however, but that was the year the Alabama Crimson Tide 14-7 over Penn State. So that was they got the big championship for that year. In the NBA, we had the Seattle Supersonics, which I don't even think is existing anymore.
You are correct.
Yeah, I forget what they became, but they beat the Washington Bullets, another team I don't think is in existence any longer. 4-1 in the finals. In the Stanley Cup Finals, the Montreal Canadiens beat the New York Rangers 4-1. In the Grey Cup of the CFL, the Edmonton Eskimos beat the Montreal Alouettes. Please tell me if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. The Vanier Cup, the Acadia Axemen beat the Western Ontario Mustangs. Do any of those teams still exist? I didn't look. I don't know anything about the CFL. In baseball, this is kind of music related. July 12th was Disco Demolition Night. Y'all hear about that one? Happened at Comiskey Park in Chicago during the White Sox and the Tigers game. Big debacle in the field there. August 2nd, I remember when this happened. Thurman Munson, catcher for the New York Yankees, died in an airplane crash. He was a well-known catcher for the Yankees at the time. Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Baltimore Orioles 4-3 in the World Series. The Pirates came back from a 3-1 deficit to win the championship. Daytona 500 for the NASCAR fans was won by Richard Petty. Interesting factoid from this year. First time it was ever brought, the Daytona 500 was broadcast from start to finish in its entirety. So there you go. You have the USA Network was founded. C-SPAN, Nickelodeon, ESPN, and the Movie Channel are all launched on cable television. Kramer versus Kramer was the best picture. The 21st annual Grammy Awards was hosted by John Denver. The Bee Gees and Billy Joel both have big evenings. Best new artist was a band called A Taste of Honey. I don't know anything. I don't remember them. So there you go. That's a little 1979 as far as sports and music and things of that nature go.
One small tidbit for us wrestling fans. Mr. Backlund was 1 year into his 4-year title reign.
Yes, he was.
It would come to an end at the hands of the Sheiky Baby in 1983.
That's right.
And just a little tidbit to add on about the college football national championship. That was the last one. That was the last championship won under Coach Bryant.
That's right.
That was his last championship.
That is right. You had two legends going at it that night with against Paterno.
And
You know,
two
so-
very good friends.
Yes, very
Bear
much
and
so.
Pat were really good friends.
Now, on the day that we're recording this, which is October 8th, I want to show this little thing. I think you guys may have seen me wear this before.
Oh yeah.
We might be talking about this band tonight. I don't know, live
Oh.
worldwide, but this is the back of it. It says here, I was there.
We're there.
I was there October 8th, first night, opening night in Philadelphia, up in for this was the reunion tour. They did a 3-night stint. And, and I was there the first night of the stint. Me and some friends, we had tickets. We were literally in the last row of the arena. So we were like all the way to the back of the arena at the very tippy top. We literally were in the cheap seats. My friends, unfortunately, were feeling a little seasick up there. We wound up actually managing to get into like a club box area, and we could see the show a lot better. And it was a pretty cool area to be sitting around. But thankfully, we missed the opening act because they were booed off the stage. Anyway, so that has nothing to do with 1979. So we have some great music in 1979, and
Yes,
we
we
probably
do.
are going to get a few reruns in some picks, maybe not. So, just to ease the mind of our Toronto fan here, we're going to let Roger kick us off this time. What's number 5 for 1979 for you, brother?
It is. Oh wait, hold on. I thought I had too many. Anyway, Riot, and I'm probably saying this wrong, but now Rita. Is that correct?
Close enough.
Or close enough?
Close enough.
Yeah, I have never heard of this album until we did this video. That is really good.
Very well-known band. I know Chris Jericho loves them.
Yeah, I've heard of Riot, but I never really listened to them. And I was reading an article today how they're like the most unluckiest band, and that might have to do with their horrible CD covers, but their music is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that their mascot is that's a really strange mascot. Whatever that thing is. I don't know what the heck that thing is, but
I think it's supposed to be a seal.
I thought it was a bird.
I looked at my thing and
That-
it said it was like
that is
it's
a-
on most of their album covers.
yeah. Yeah, we'll leave that one up to discussion, but it's interesting. I'm going to be actually seeing somebody who played in the band, I think from like 78 to 84. They front a band called Riot Act now. They're actually going to be opening up for Raven when I go see them up in Huntsville. So and they're going to, I guess, play a bunch of Riot songs. So at least from that era. So that'll be pretty cool. So good choice. Good choice to start us off. So JD, go ahead. I'll let you kick us off kick your side off.
I went with Stormwatch by Jethro Tull.
Okay.
Yeah. I've recently got into Tull due to Sea of Tranquility.
Mhm.
Really, really good stuff. Really good, folky, little elements of prog. Really good tracks. Some really good ones. Starts out with this really cool, like up tempo, North Sea Oil. It's, folky. A lot of flute because Ian loves that flute, and to me, I've never been one for flutes in music, but Mr. Ian Anderson here proved me wrong.
He makes it work.
But, and if this was the third of like kind of like not really a trilogy, but there was like kind of like a trilogy of kind of folky type albums that was that this was like the culmination of, and it was also the last to feature this particular lineup. The bass player, I believe, he left the band. I think he got sick or something, and he left. And I think the guitar player and the drummer got fired. I think Ian fired him or something, and I guess kind of just retooled everything for the new decade. But yeah, it's
No
that's-
pun
that's-
intended. Retold everything, maybe. I don't know.
That's funny. Yeah, I like that. Keep that in mind. But yeah, it's 10 tracks. You got 2 instrumentals that are really good. My favorite song on off this is it's Dark Ages. It's probably it might be the lengthiest track, but it's, it's, to me, it's like it's the proggy song of the album, and it's really good. So yeah.
No, you'll make Jack Toledano happy with that choice, because I know he's a big Tull fan from Sea of Tranquility. So good choice. Jason, what you got?
Excuse me. I went with something a little different from what everybody else is going to pick. I went with Enlightened Rogues by the Allman Brothers Band.
Okay.
It's 8 tracks. It's not their best. It's not Brothers and Sisters or Eat a Peach, but it's the first album that they recorded after they broke up in 75.
Okay.
This is their comeback record, and it's good. Dickie is on point. Greg seemed to have straightened out quite a bit. His vocals were good and strong. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 really banger songs on it, and then there's some that's not so great. But to me, the best one on it is probably the opening track called Crazy Love.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean, it's your standard, I guess, Allman Brothers record, but I really enjoyed it. It was something that I hadn't heard from them in quite a while. It was a sound of a band that was, for lack of better terms, they were hungry again. If you get what I mean, they were hungry again. Yep. And yeah, I mean, give it a listen sometime. I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, Allman Brothers are good stuff. That's you don't get to hear much of talk about some of those later period stuff, but good choice. Good choice. Ben, what you got?
For my number 5 of 1979, I went with Head Games by Foreigner. Just
great album.
Straight up, no frills American rock and roll with sleazy lyrics, just how it's supposed to be. Great tracks. Head Games obviously is a big single of theirs. Dirty White Boy, another huge big single for them. But I really like the song Love on the Telephone. Great song. No filler in that record. I didn't hear any. If there is, somebody please tell me. The album version I listened to via Apple Music has a bonus track called Zalia. Had a little trouble getting into that one, but if you just take the 10 tracks that was originally released, killer stuff. Can't go wrong with it. If you need some driving tunes, play that CD from start to finish. You'll be good.
Very good album. And then of course the band would kind of change up by the time 4 comes out. So they lost a couple of members by that point. But yeah, Head Games, very good album. Very, very good album. Okay, so I'm gonna really try hard to stay away from some of the usual suspects from 1979, because I know there's a few. So I'm gonna go. This is gonna be an odd one for some of you guys. There's a band called Resurrection Band, and this album's called Rainbow's End. Okay, this is their second album. These guys based out of Chicago, and these guys are kind of a if Petra was a heavier band, and they brought the no nonsense kind of lyric of a Larry Norman. So this is they're a Christian rock band, well-known Christian rock band from the 70s into the 80s. Really good stuff. I've seen Glenn, the singer, live a couple times, and he's fantastic live. Doesn't do a lot of res band stuff, but this album has a song called Afrikaans, which is an anti-apartheid song, and which actually predates Peter Gabriel's Biko by about a year or so. And I think it's just as strong a song. Concert for a Queen is a beautiful ballad. Rainbow's End and Midnight Song. There's a lot of really good songs on this, but great classic Christian rock. To me, I thought would be just as good as just about anything that was out on the radio back in those days. Glenn had a great voice. His wife Wendy would co-lead, kind of like a Jefferson Starship or Jefferson Airplane kind of vibe kind of thing. But really good, solid stuff. And yeah, so that's going to be my first start. So I thought I would really go off the deep end with something different there. So, Roger, what you got for number 4 for us?
Well, this album came out, it's kind of a timbit. It came out in 78 everywhere else, but it came out in 79 in North America. So I think it counts. So it's
Works for me.
the album Priest introduced all of their letter and studs and loudness, Killing Machine.
Or in the States, Hellbent for Leather.
Yeah.
Solid album.
It's they kind of got away from their well, Rob did, from his like crazy singing, and now it's more straightforward rock in my opinion. But the solos are still there, the guitar work, but it's more simple, I find. And the one thing I really like about Priest, and I think I said this in another video, no album sounds the same.
Yeah, very,
Which-
very, very true.
A lot of bands, they kind of stick to the same style, but not Priest. Except their last album sounded like Painkiller, but that's neither here nor there. But
You know, and I actually just listened to Nostradamus, and I actually really liked it.
I'm not brave.
But
enough
that's not
to listen to
that's not
that.
1979, so we won't go there.
Now, was Glenn and KK already in the band in this album in 1979?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn and KK were there. Well, KK was there from the very start.
Yeah.
And then they brought Glenn in shortly before they released Rock and Roll, and then he got on board then. So yeah, no, KK and Glenn they'd been there through pretty
They
much
were
right
the
until
Priest
Glenn
sound.
KK retired.
And
Which
in
I
my
heard-
opinion, too, delivering the goods is
Delivering the Goods
probably
was
one
awesome.
of the most underrated Priest songs.
Awesome track.
I heard that Richie is a very, very good replacement for Glenn after he retired.
Yeah, Rich has been really good.
Yeah.
The last 2 albums that they put out with Richie have been, not to go off on a tangent, but yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool.
I agree. I don't know how he's still playing.
I don't think Glenn plays much. I mean, he's only
Oh
playing.
no, I'm talking about Richie because
Oh yeah, since the heart, his heart
Yeah.
literally
Yeah, he
exploded.
recovered. Boy, kudos to him for recovering. Apparently, he just a freak thing with him. But
Says he literally has heavy metal in his body now.
yep.
Wow.
JD, what's number 4 for you?
All right, number 4 is the only album I don't physically own, which kind of hurts because this one is it is a repeat from a band repeat from the last video, and it's anybody can see it. It's Black Rose, a rock story by Thin Lizzy.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've heard lots of good things about that. Yep.
What can I say? Thin Lizzy, like same lineup except for one. They actually had Gary Moore actually stick around long enough after 2 previous stints to actually record. I think the first was like 74, and I think it was like 76, maybe, if I read right. But they finally were able to get him to like stick on board to actually record an album. And it's everything that I said about Jailbreak in the last video. Same with this one. The dual guitar sounds there. It's good, catchy songs. It's got you start out with Do Anything You Want to Do, which just right out the gate just pummels you. It's like the whole Jailbreak thing. It never lets up. It does. They go a little, you get a little about maybe halfway through, I want to say. You get track 5, which is My Sarah, which Phil wrote about his daughter. You know, I think that one's the slowest, but it's still got a really good flow to it. It's got a nice guitar sound to it. Got a track called S&M, which little funky little beats. I really like that one. That one I can listen to that one numerous times and not get tired of it. But to me, the standout track to me is the final track. The hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. The Roseanne Duke, which is in parentheses Black Rose. It's the longest track, but it's really good too. I guess the whole album is just it's another one of those, to me, perfect from start to finish. It's great, good guitar, Phil still sounding amazing. And I know it's like what, the third or fourth before they finally hung it up in 83, I want to say. And I've only heard the 276 albums and this album. And could probably say Thin Lizzy might make my top 10 favorite bands of all time. Just because it's those three solid releases. And yeah, some good stuff. So yeah, that's with Thin Lizzy again.
Good choice. Hey, nothing wrong with repeat bands. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. Jason, what we got for number 4?
I went north of the border. I went Triumph.
Okay.
I had to get Triumph, and it's the record Just a Game. It was my introduction into Triumph. I've heard of them, but never really listened to them. I'm very impressed. 8 tracks. Of course, everyone's going to agree that the best song on this record would probably be Lay It on the Line.
Probably one of the best rock songs ever written.
Oh gosh, what a classic track there.
But the first song, the opening track of the record, Moving On, it's okay. It's not really my taste, but it's okay. But Lay It on the Line's number 2, and then after that, everything on there is great. The song American Girls is really good. Just a Game was that's a great track. And then it ends up with pretty much a straight out blues called Suitcase Blues. And it's an interesting take on the blues. I've never heard Canadian blues before, but I enjoyed it. And so I highly recommend the record. It's I completely enjoyed it, and I am now a fan of Triumph.
Good band. Solid band. Great choice. Ben, number 4.
My number 4, some people might argue that it should be higher. Some people might argue it doesn't belong on here at all. But I went with In Through the Outdoor by Led Zeppelin. I fell in love with this record listening for this particular show. And, it's got some popular tracks on it. Fool in the Rain, All of My Love. In the Evening is the best way to start off a rock and roll album that I've ever heard. It hits right out of the gate. To me, this album, the guys in the band, they were just flexing all of their creativity. They covered every genre of music imaginable in this album, from salsa to blues to rock to bluegrass and country. They did it all. I thought the song Hot Dog was hilarious and great. They played outlaw country music better than outlaw country musicians. Carousel Alhambra, such a epic track. JPJ just went nuts with the keyboards on that one. It was insane. So yes, I'm Gonna Crawl, beautiful little blues ballad, just remind me of the old 30s smoking, music parlor kind of feel to it. Just wonderful album. So
Yeah.
I'm putting that at my number 4.
Definitely a John Paul Jones, Robert Plant album there.
Yeah.
Not so heavy on the Jimmy Page, because I think he was dealing with a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I feel like there was so much prominent key work to make up for Jimmy not being as strong as he was in previous albums.
Well, I think he also burned himself out from Presence, because that was a heavy guitar album.
Really
on
was.
Presence. But yeah, it's interesting. In Through the Outdoor, I think I've listened to side 2 of Coda probably more than I've ever listened to In Through the Outdoor. And I love Zeppelin. I'm a huge Zeppelin fan. But for whatever reason, In Through the Outdoor was always kind of the lowest rung on the ladder for me. I just never listened to that all that much. I have a respect for the album, but yeah, it's just not one I tend to look at that as that should have been a Robert Plant solo album almost, but it's still a good album, still a very strong album though.
Very strong album.
Sure.
So, okay. So if anybody's been watching some of the shares I do, you probably noticed I've been on another guy's channel called Grant's Rock Warehouse, and I've been doing a little series on these guys. April Wine. So yeah, let's bring a little harder, faster in there for this one. I really enjoyed this album. This was a good one. Say Hello, great track. Ladies Man, kind of a good bluesy rocker. I Like to Rock was another good one. Before the Dawn. There's a lot of good songs on this one. They do a version of King Crimson's 21st Century Schizoid Man, and they absolutely nail it. King Crimson was kind of one of these, they were kind of one of these, way out there kind of sounds. And, from those early days. And it's like, boy, but I'll tell you what, Miles Godwin and the band really, really nailed it. They do a great version of that song. I think their following album, The Nature of the Beast, I think was a stronger album, but this one was also a very good album too. So highly recommend, April Wine's been a fun band to get into. I've been really enjoying going through that catalog, and of course, another Canadian band. So we're giving Canada some big time love tonight. So
That's good because the Blue Jays just lost the game pretty much.
oh jeez,
Oh man.
That's why I've been shaking my head for the last couple minutes because
Sorry,
they
Roger.
blew an 8-1 lead in the playoffs. 8-1. Anyway,
sorry, Roger.
yeah, it's okay.
What you got for number 3?
Well, in a lot of people's lists, this should be higher, but Van Halen too. What can be said about Eddie Van Halen that hasn't been beaten to death? He was a genius, God in many people's eyes.
True.
The solos in that album are ridiculous. That solo in Somebody Get Me a Doctor, which is what I'm going to need after this. DOA. Every track on there was so strong, but I can't. I love Van Halen, but I cannot stand Beautiful Girls. That song's terrible in my eyes. That's why it was lower on my list. But
Yeah, their version of You're No Good is also kind of interesting too. But it's okay.
now
they
here's
do
a
okay with it.
question for you, Metal Dad.
Okay.
Dance the Night Away. Was that their first big hit?
Probably of their own songs, I would think so, because I think you really got a little bit of probably got a little bit up on the charts, and then they there's a lot of songs that were well known in their sets, like Running with the Devil or Jamie's Crying. Those would all become radio staples eventually. But I believe Dance the Night Away would probably be like one of their first like breakout hits of their own stuff. I would have to do a little research on that. That would sound about right. I didn't actually hear Van Halen for the first time, I think, until I actually asked for Fair Warning for Christmas one year, and after it had come out, and surprisingly I got it. I couldn't believe it. And that was actually my introduction to Van Halen, was hearing that album for the first time, and blew me away. So good stuff. Yeah, Van Halen 2 is great. I'm sure we might be hearing a little bit more of that one. So JD,
All right.
next up.
All right, another repeat band from last video, but why not? If you
Of course.
Judas Priest, it's a little.
Let's talk a little about that classic live album a little bit.
Oh yeah. You want a greatest hits album of a band? This is it. Like this is all Exciter, Running Wild, Sinner. One of my personal favorite tracks being The Ripper. Just the guitar on that and just Rob's insane vocal. Then of course you got the cover, the Green Metalici. That's the it's Fleetwood Mac, right?
No Fleetwood Mac song, yeah.
Okay, I've never heard the original, so
Yeah, that predates Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. That was like,
there we go. Then
early Peter Green stuff.
Yeah.
That explains it because all my Fleetwood Mac knowledge is basically just Stevie forward.
I've heard a lot of people say if you really want an interesting experience, listen to those early Fleetwood Mac albums. You will
I've heard that.
Yeah,
never
because
believe it.
when they first started, they were pretty much just a straight blues band.
Yeah,
under Peter.
There was another band before Fleetwood Mac formed that had a bunch of the members in it called Chicken Shack. Now that is some killer stuff right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this one I see, like, of course you got the Jumbo S cover, Diamonds and Rust. It's the another good Victim of Changes, which another top favorite song. Genocide, and then Tyrant. And the one I got bonus, some bonus tracks. It's got Rock Forever, Delivering the Goods, Hellbent for Leather, and Starbreaker. But yeah, just it's like you said, you want the greatest hits of Priest at this time period. It's all
Right there.
everybody, what's the greatest hits right here?
So interesting factoid here about the Metal Dad. So in high school, me and my buddy Mike, we decided to give ourselves nicknames, and we actually used a couple Priest songs. He went with the Ripper because he was into a lot of Jack the Ripper stuff at the time. And even though I probably lean more toward the Kiss song by the same name, I went with Exciter. But I tend to lean, I think I'm a little bit more of the Kiss version, more so than the Judas Priest version. But that was a long time ago. I'm better off for having gone on from that. Jason, what you got next, brother?
One other thing, one that I
go
know
ahead.
that they said there was just a little other thing about this was they said that it's classified as a live album, but they're saying that Rob's vocals aren't, because he went on to later state that his vocals on the actual recording were completely destroyed. So he had to go back and re-record them in like a live studio.
That's not an uncommon thing.
And
Yeah, that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
but I mean, it's still like, however they did it, it works, because you can hear the bits like where he's interacting with like the crowd. You can hear the crowd and it worked. They were, the vocals might not have been like live, but everything else about it, it's just a band just going full on.
I could just about guarantee you, if anybody's ever bought a Kiss live record, they've never actually heard Ace Frehley playing guitar on it.
That's true.
Yeah, I know both those albums definitely through the whole band got a lot of doctoring done to them. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But Jason, what you got next?
Well, this one, a lot of people would probably say deserves to be higher. And in all fairness, it was higher until about 5 days ago, when my current number 2 was discovered and bumped this one down. But for number 3, I've got The Thunder from Down Under, AC/DC with Highway to Hell.
There it is right there.
If there is a more classic hard rock album, I can't think of one. Of the 10 tracks, every one of them is top caliber. The two weakest ones that I would say are probably Get It Hot and maybe Walk All Over You. But that,
no, Metal Dad says nope.
but that's just personal opinion.
I agree with Metal Dad.
Get it hot. Yes, I'll agree with, because it's so short and kind of goofy.
Yeah.
No, Walk All Over. No, I love that whole. I love that whole groove and rhythm, and I mean that.
I'm not saying it's a bad song.
Oh no,
I'm
no,
just
no,
saying
no.
it.
I know.
I'm just saying it, but in personal opinion, the other songs on the track on the album are stronger. I mean, my personal favorite on the whole album is Shot Down in Flames.
That is a good track. That's a good track.
And then of course you got If You Want Blood, You've Got It. I mean, how much better can you get? The title track is, you know, the whole record is phenomenal from beginning to end.
Mhm.
And yeah, it probably is still a strong contender for number 2, but my current number 2, it's a good one. So that's me. Highway to Hell, number 3.
Rock and roll, man.
Rock and roll.
Maybe a little more on that later.
Okay.
Ben, what you got?
Well, speaking of rock and roll, this one here is an American icon, an American legend, one of the best songwriters in American music history, and that would be Mr. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers with Damn the Torpedoes.
It's a good record.
Good record. I mean,
Yeah, that early
it's
Tom
hard.
Petty stuff is great. I'll give
It's
it
hard, start to finish. Refugee, Here Comes My Girl, Even the Losers. Then you go to Don't Do Me Like That, You Tell Me. You know, it's just chock full of classic songs. And back in those days, man, he was just hammering them out. Albums coming, you know, yearly, sometimes twice a year. He was on point. He is an American treasure, I do believe.
No, yeah.
Yeah, great album. My wife's favorite artist in rock and roll music, Tom Petty. She listens to him nearly every day. And so I had to give it a shot, and I listened to the whole album start to finish, and I was just blown away.
Yeah, Refugee is such a killer track. I always
Nobody can make it sound like he does. Like if anybody else writes a song like that, that Tom Petty, that Heartbreaker sound is just so unique.
True.
Yeah, there was a whole lot more to Tom Petty than just Free Fallin' and American Girls.
Yeah,
absolutely. Or that, or him, or when he did that Dave Stewart collaboration, Don't Come Around Here No More.
oh, that's a great song.
I mean, it's a great song, but boy, that video is just so weird.
Yeah. I mean, and he did songs like Southern Accent and Wildflowers, just little folk ballads that just bring a tear to your eye.
Yeah.
You know,
I personally liked the stuff he did with the Traveling Wilburys too.
Yeah, it's a good material. Yeah, that's a great album. That's a great choice, Ben.
absolutely.
That early Tom Petty stuff is killer. Killer stuff. So, all right. So we go from Tom Petty. We go back to the land of the Great White North again. So, another band for Rogers area. Saga.
I have no idea who that is.
Images of Twilight. So Saga is they are a kind of a prog rock band. Their keyboards kind of leaned a little bit toward the maybe a little bit of the new wavy sound, but very prog rocky. Great guitar player Ian Crichton, Michael Sadler, great singer, songwriter. Saga was known for doing, in their first few albums, they did these songs that had they had chapters after the name of the song. So like and they did like random order. And so this one has chapter 3, which is a song called It's Time, great upfront rocker. And also Images, which is chapter 1. Also just a really beautiful intro with the keyboards and a beautiful piano intro, but great. It has a storyline. talks about a young Albert Einstein, from what I understand. But I've heard all this. There's like 16 chapters altogether throughout the course of their discography, and it's really good stuff. But this album's got a lot of other good songs. Mouse in a Maze is another well-known song in their set. Take It or Leave It, You're Not Alone, See Them Smile, all great tracks. Saga's been one of those bands that I would discover a couple of years later in 1981, 1982. They had a song called On the Loose that I saw a video for on MTV that I just like, ooh, I like this song. Great song. Yeah, great little keyboard and guitar interplay. They do a lot of that kind of stuff throughout their career. Solid catalog, really worth checking out. Saga, that was their second album. So good stuff.
Just downloaded it.
Yeah, certainly worth checking into. I could give you all kinds of different albums to check out from them. I really like them. I always thought
They have a huge discography.
they have a lot of albums. Yes, I think about 14 or
78 to
15, something like that.
2021.
Yep.
Oh.
Their
Yeah,
the last thing they put out called Symmetry, which was kind of a reworking of some of their older songs, is really amazing to listen to. There's no keyboards, I think, other than maybe a piano, but they use a lot of mandolin and other different instruments. But oh my gosh, it was such a beautiful album. It was like a totally different take on Unplugged. It was just so good. So there you go. That's some more Canadian love from Canadian love. So Roger, what you got? What you got for your your next one?
Other
Number
than my
two.
rally
Number
cap
two.
on, my number two, it's because I like fast and heavy. It's one of two albums this band released this year, Motorhead.
Motorhead.
The title track is probably one of my favorite openers of any album. And there's Damage Case, Limb from Limb, Tear Ya Down, that weird I'll Be Your Sister.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, Lemmy, his vocals would not work with any other band.
No.
But somehow that guy is, you know, I wish I got to see them live. But
Yeah.
I was
Same.
this close once.
well, I was this close. I skipped them because I thought Lemmy was going to be alive forever, and then he died the December that year.
Yeah. I was
That
supposed to
broke
to see him with Wasp in 97, and we got to the venue only to find out the show had been canceled because Chris Holmes had knee surgery, and it was still, he had to that was like the ending of his recovery, and Motorhead was opening that tour. So I missed out on getting to see Motorhead, so I never got to see him live. Yeah, you gotta love that early Motorhead stuff, man. That's
Oh, yeah,
classic.
for sure.
Classic.
Now, a random tidbit about me. One of these days, I'm going to have a metal sleeve somewhere on my body, which my plan is to have legendary metal mascots, and the War Pig is going to be the first one I get.
Nice. Very nice. All right, JD, what you got for number two?
All right. These two guys right here probably gonna school me afterwards
I can feel it
for
coming.
not putting this one up higher. But when I first heard this album, it's years ago, I was dumb, naive teenager, didn't really know anything, as we all were. I was introduced to this album by this fella right here. He basically told, because at that time I was listening to a lot of rap and didn't really care for any type other than just that. And he pulled me aside. He was like, "No, this is music."
I'm still not wrong.
No, and it blew my mind. I listened to this so many times, and during the teenos, it's in my DNA. From as soon as I had it, went straight to the computer as soon as I could, and ripped it off, and every device that I've ever had that's connected to my iCloud, and Apple has this in it. And I'm talking about Pink Floyd's The Wall. I mean,
I was wondering when this was going to come up.
79. You can't talk 79 without mentioning
The Wall.
The Wall.
Oh, there's his
Yep.
copy.
There's my copy that I've had since about 1980, 1981 or so.
I had this since last year, thanks to the amazing girlfriend. And mine is the original as well. So got the beautiful gatefold on the inside. I've only listened since I bought it. I've listened to it once. Because I'm just trying to preserve it as much as I can, just because,
Because it's vintage.
yeah.
Oh,
And just
It's older than all of your metal kids.
they'll probably, these two can talk more about it than I will, but because I'll let them. But yeah, just it changed, and it made me look at music differently. Like growing up, basically the only Pink Floyd song that I was actually ever had heard was Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. And I never knew it was a Part 2. I just knew just that one. It was the only thing that played on classic rock radio when I was growing up. So that was the only one I knew, and just changed everything. Like as soon as I heard it for the first time, I was like, okay, that's it. I put aside, I got rid of all the rap music that was in my life at the time. I was like, no, I'm devoting all my time now to learning more about just rock music. And
wise choice.
I said, this guy right here, he's,
But he learned it from me. So.
well, that's true. So yeah, I got these two great guys to thank for introducing,
Cool.
this beautiful music.
I was honestly wondering when The Wall was going to come up. So
I must say, I kind of thought it was meh, but that's because I don't know. I thought it just dragged on way too long.
Hey, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, no matter how wrong it is.
there's only one song on that whole thing that I actually kind of skip. Only one. And that's the kickoff of side 4. Never really was a big fan of The Show Must Go On. And I'm kind of glad it never made the movie. Because there's 2 songs from the album that don't make the movie.
That's true.
And and that one didn't bother me. The other one did bother me that it didn't make the movie.
And there's one song that made the movie but didn't make the album. And that's When the Tigers Break Free.
Right, which is on the final cut. But
and then there's that build up from before Young Lust.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, that got cut out. It's interesting though, because the lyrics are in that for that song. I think if my memory, look, I want to say the lyrics for that are actually in this, but for whatever reason,
Dialogue of the Woman.
it's not on.
No, before
the Shall We Buy a New Guitar.
Oh, that part. Yes.
Yeah, that was in the movie.
Yeah.
But when the live album that you had, the dual live album, when they did the entire Wall album in its entirety, they added that in there.
Yeah, but in the record it didn't make it.
Yeah, because they added the little rock, intro to Young Lust.
I really liked having that part in there because to me it made a better intro into Young Lust than just coming straight out of I can't remember the name of it.
Is there anybody out there? No.
Anyway, this one will more than likely be discussed more at a later time.
Yeah, that's why I gave my little backstory on it.
And that's why I haven't said any more yet.
That's actually what y'all are talking about. Shall We Buy a New Guitar? That's an extra hidden verse of empty spaces.
Yeah,
that is thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember the live when you had the live cut for it.
Yeah,
I started listening to the live cut a lot more than the actual album itself, because the live cut was just it added extra layers to it.
Yeah.
And I really dug that. I liked how you know,
More on that later.
yeah.
Yeah, more on that later.
So Jason, what's next for you?
Oh, well, my number 2, I was introduced to, about, I can't remember, maybe 5, maybe 6 days ago. I've heard of the guy for years, but never listened to any of his stuff. And as I was scrolling through potential albums to put on this list, I happened to see his name and an album, and I said, I'll give it a shot. And lo and behold, he has become probably one of my favorite artists, easily top 10, possibly top 5 artist of all time. And I am speaking, of course, of the one and only Mr. Rory Gallagher from the Emerald Isle of Ireland.
Yes.
His
Great to see
album,
Roy getting some love here. I love that. Good.
his album from 1979, Top Priority, is without a doubt one of the greatest records I've ever heard. And if anybody is watching this later and they don't know who it is, please do yourself a favor, go check out Rory Gallagher. When you hear him, you will be asking yourself, where have I been all my life? And why have I been listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan instead of this guy?
Nothing wrong with Stevie Ray Vaughan, but yes. Yeah, Rory was something else. Boy,
He
what
was
player.
a beast of a guitar player.
Yeah.
This record, it's 9 tracks. The Apple Music has 2 bonus tracks that were released later, but the original 9 tracks are phenomenal. From beginning to end, this record, there's no filler on this record. Number 2 song, Philby, I let Ben listen to it on the way down here. We both agree it's got one of the catchiest grooves of any song I've ever heard. The vocal melody is amazing. And it's got an electric sitar solo in it.
Oh,
Can't knock that. To me, the gem of the album is the 8th track, which is called Off the Handle. It is one of the most amazing hard rock / blues sounds I've ever heard. His guitar tone was so amazing, and his solo work, the way he structured a solo, it was like he was trying to shred blues before shredding blues was a thing.
He was doing things on a guitar that people didn't do till 5 years later in hair metal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing sweep picking. He had his gain crunk all the way up, just making those Marshalls scream. It was insane. He was very much ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was. Great player. Boy, I'm so glad to see Rory getting some love here. This is awesome. Great pick. I'm definitely gonna have to go check some more of this out because I'm woefully behind on Rory Gallagher, so I need to catch up on him. So
Me too.
I've heard of
I
him.
have no idea what you're talking about.
I've heard. Yeah, I've heard. I've
Well,
just
look,
never
look,
listened to it.
if y'all really have a love of hard rock that is mixed with blues, kind of in the vein of what Stevie did years later.
What Joe Bonamassa does now.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
this
okay.
is where, in my opinion, it originated, and he's playing blues the way he does in Ireland at the time that Gary Moore was forming his style too.
Yeah.
So they're very much in the same vein as with their playing styles.
Yeah. When Gary Moore heard this guy, he left Thin Lizzy and took up playing the blues.
That's my assumption. I don't know if that's correct or not, but
well, Gary Moore had a good he was shredding, and then when he was doing, because he did a great cover of of the old Yardbird song "Shapes of Things." You know, if you probably one of the best versions of that song I've ever heard. And then it was soon after that was when I think it was when he started doing more of the bluesier stuff. But boy,
I mean,
yeah,
my Gary Moore knowledge really begins after his time with Thin Lizzy when he was doing the Celtic rock stuff like Over the Hills and Far Away.
So good stuff.
Yeah.
Such good stuff.
When he was doing that, and then on into when he started doing the blues with the the Still Got the Blues record and all. But yes, everyone, if you can, do yourself a favor, check out Rory if you love hard rock blues. It is amazing. He is definitely easily top 10, maybe top 5.
easily. Cool. Good stuff, Jason. Good stuff. Ben, what you got for number 2?
Number 2, we got a little repeat on our hands. We got some Thunder from Down Under. Go ahead and hold up the CD right there for me if you don't mind. There it is. Look at there. You just look at it.
Just look at it. Just look at it.
We got Highway to Hell. Girl's Got Rhythm. She's got the backseat rhythm, you know, classic stuff. What more can be said? Mutt Lange's debut album with the band. Absolute perfection. 98% perfection. 1980 produced absolute perfection. So that's Shot Down in Flames, Night Prowler. If you want blood, you got it. We've all talked about it. It's a timeless piece of music that will be around long after Metal Dad and his kids are all gone.
Long after we're gone.
Yeah. So that's my number 2. Can't go wrong with it. You
Cool.
know.
All right. So my number 2, this is actually something I was listening to in the very early 80s before their really big breakout album came out. But I'm going to stick with some bluesy stuff. Let's do a little ZZ Top. The
Delawago.
The DeGuayo album. Oh my goodness. My cousin had this album. And this is I love this album. With the
Never
cover.
listened to it. It's still wrapped up.
Yeah.
It's a rebought. It's a rebought. I had to get this back again. I already had it in my iTunes. I just wanted to get it because I had to have show and tell. So I actually rebought this. But
okay.
But anyway, no, I listened to this a lot as a kid. My cousin had this and I borrowed it from him and I made a tape of it. You know, the kickoff track, I Thank You. It's, you know, Billy Gibbons just turns that song and he just makes it an absolute sleazy, dirty, nasty song with that groove. And you didn't have to shake it, but you did, but you did, but you did. And I thank you. Great track. She Loves My Automobile. I'm Bad. I'm Nationwide. Dust My Broom, an old Robert Johnson song. Hi-Fi Mama, Cheap Sunglasses, great track. Esther Be the One. Golly, I just love the DeGuayo album. I actually love a lot of the earlier ZZ Top stuff, right? You know, because Eliminator was really what got them the big notice, you know, but I love so much of that earlier ZZ Top material. And
Yeah,
I really regret not having, because they were just here in Birmingham not too long ago with Jeff Beck opening up. And I really wish I had gone, but
I'm with you. I mean, when they changed their style, so to speak, with the Eliminator record, to me they lost something because I really liked that raw edge that they had in their early stuff, and it got too. To me, it got a little too polished and a little too processed.
The early stuff wasn't paying the bills, buddy.
yeah.
Well, I understand that.
The thing about Eliminator for me though is it has a lot of filler. You have the big hits, you have the Sharp Dress Band, Legs,
Right.
you know, Give Me All Your Love and Got Me Under Pressure. And, you know, even TV Dinners was kind of a minor hit, but there's just a lot of extra filler on the album.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's
looking
just-
at Eliminator now,
There's not a lot of really after those big hits, there's just not much that's really deeply memorable to me, you know, and it never got me coming back for more. You know, this album, DeGuayo certainly did. But
Yeah. Just personal note, I think
Yeah.
the best song they ever did was the combo "Waiting on the Bus." Jesus just left Chicago.
Jesus has left Chicago.
Absolutely,
Oh,
and he's
I love
bound
that
for
song.
New Orleans.
My brother played in a band, and they did a lot of bluesy rocker kind of stuff, and I got to jam with them a few times just for fun. And man, they did Jesus Just Left Chicago. And I'll tell you what, the guy that was playing lead guitar, man, he just ripped a great solo when they would play that.
I mean, and that's the great thing about ZZ Top. It's kind of freeform to where you can do that.
Oh, he may not have followed the pattern, but boy, he just would rip it. Man, he made it work. It sounds so good.
I
But,
don't know that Billy ever followed it the same way twice.
yeah. But you know that you just can't go wrong with that early ZZ Top.
Oh no.
Great
That's
stuff.
that's a great pick, Metal Dad. That is
Yep.
a great pick.
Love me some DeGueo. Or I think it translates to destroyer. I think is how it translates, because I think I looked that up once. So, all right, we are to our number ones.
Honorable mentions.
Are we doing honorables before or
let's do the
after?
honorable mentions afterwards.
Okay,
Okay.
that works. Okay, that's
Let's
cool.
hit the number ones. Roger, what you got?
All right, here's the repeat for the third time. Hold it up. ACD.
Of course.
I can't
Now-
believe it. This is getting more love than the wall has so far.
Well, I grew up listening to a lot of AC/DC, and
Damn.
you know, it's amazing how popular they are with how simple their music is. Yet
Yes.
it's absolutely complicated at the same time. It doesn't make any sense, but this album, I think, was the best Bon Scott album. And how about
I
I
agree with
mentioned
that.
the song that they got in trouble for too, which is one of my favorite tracks, Night Prowler.
Night Prowler.
Yeah,
Don't get it. Yeah, something like
that's one of my favorite AC/DC songs.
It
Without
really is.
saying Highway to Hell, I must say, every time that comes on Sirius, my wife gets very, very mad because I try to do my Bon Scott impression, which I think is all right, but that's because I have the music full blast. So probably terrible, but
great.
Oh,
I had a feeling this was going to be a repeat offender. So,
Oh yeah.
JD, what you got? What's your number one? Look, after we all do our number one.
That's 4 times.
Jason, what you got?
I mean, Roger's
Let's just
got-
move on.
Yeah, it's what everything has been said. 10 tracks, amazing. All to me,
Okay.
all 10 tracks, fantastic. I love all of them. There's not a bad track on it. Perfect
Right.
album to me. Probably my favorite AC/DC record. Bon Scott's like his crowning achievement. May he rest in peace.
If Ride On was on Highway to Hell, it would be better than Back in Black.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's a strong statement. That's a very strong statement.
I agree because Ride On was a masterpiece of Angus Young playing the blues.
yeah.
And they didn't do a lot of those slow blues tracks like that.
They did.
Oh,
They
but
did.
boy, when they did, man.
Yeah.
Yes, when they did it up.
I mean, and plus, come on, that album cover. I mean,
You can get the super rare one with the flames in the
you
background.
know, and then I like the back shot myself.
So you can go ahead and do mine and Jason's number one at the same time.
But
Right, yep, you got it.
There it is.
Go ahead.
I figured that was going to happen. All right, you talk
Well-
to us about the wall, guys. Come on.
This album, not to get too in depth or anything, but this album rescued me. I was at a very, very, very dark time in my life, and this record pulled me out of it. I know some people think that it is bloated and too long, too much stuff that shouldn't be in there. But for me, every piece has to be there because it's all a part of Roger's story that he's trying to tell.
Yes, for anybody that, if you're having trouble understanding the concept of it, just, it's an idea based from a person suffering from extreme depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and being a victim of infidelity, all rolled into one.
Plus having the overprotective mother because his
And no
father
father.
died in the war.
Yeah.
So it all rolls into this masterpiece that Roger got the concept of because when they were on the tour for supporting the Animals record, he spit on a fan and he thought, why don't we just build a wall across the stage and separate us? And that's where it all began. And it's a beautiful, beautiful metaphor for, you know, somebody that's having the mental problems, you know, the life crises that he was having. And, you know, it musically, it's some of the band's best work, even though they were at each other's throats through most of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I know that there are people out there that'll say, you know, Comfortably Numb, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, Hey You, all of that. Those are the best songs on the record. But to me, the crowning achievement of that record was the third song on side A of record number 2, and that's the piano ballad, Nobody's Home.
Mhm. Beautiful.
That is, it is the most beautiful piece of music
Nobody home.
that Roger's ever written.
You can hear the desperation in his voice while he's singing it.
I got a pair of Go Hills boots.
Yeah, exactly. It
God.
makes you sit down and just,
Fade in.
And I don't think that he will mind me saying this, but when we saw it live, well, actually both of them, probably myself included, but I happened to see this one and this one from the time that Hey You started until the show must go on, sitting there watching that stage, watching that wall with tears rolling down their face.
yeah.
It was beautiful. And it's probably, with the exception of maybe the birthday concert when we all went to see Iron Maiden together, seeing the wall is one of the greatest musical moments of my life.
Yeah, I totally
Very
agree.
cool.
Yeah.
Out there,
Very
this
cool.
radio with Maiden.
The wall is so special to me because it's just, I don't know, it's the first piece of music that I ever remember absolutely falling in love with to the point of becoming obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I studied everything about it. I learned as much as I could about it. At one point in time, Jason and I could play nearly the entire album. He played on guitar, I'd play it on bass, and we would just do this whole thing start to finish. And it's just so chock full of powerful songs, not necessarily radio friendly hits, but just powerful, make you feel and make you stop and think songs.
Mhm.
You know,
To me, it's less of an album and more of a piece of art.
it is. It is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'd see. Yeah, I'd say that.
And that's why it's my number one, because it has turned me in my years since first experiencing it. It's kind of taken me away from being the radio listener, you know, to just whatever the record companies say, this is what we got, this is what you like. It taught me how to think for myself and to listen for myself and make the choice on my own. Don't let somebody else make the choice of what I'm going to listen to for me.
But now that you say that, I think I'm affected by that as well. I go for deep cuts now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a man that loves the deep cuts, and I really think that now that you say it, yeah, I think that was the one, because to me it was just everything off of it. Like I said, was, you know, like they said, and just beautiful. And like you said, just seeing it performed in its entirety was brilliant. And like Jason, it you know, brought tears, because here I was seeing a big, because, you know, I was also, when I saw that performance, I was also in not a good state of mind back in that, when I saw it perform live as well. So I think that what you know, what they had said is that album has made me realize, yeah, your life may be shit, pardon my language, but you can make something beautiful out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, you can turn a make a silk purse out of a sow's ear.
mm-hmm. And it's just,
to use the old phrase.
Yep.
it would have been number one, but I hadn't listened to it in so long.
Yeah.
I don't
But
have
like
to
that-
listen to it.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know, somebody AC/DC just kind of just came in and just was like,
Understandable.
Hey,
You know,
you like what you like.
I mean,
There's no fault.
I know, it's just like I said, it's AC/DC though. Like that's ingrained. You know, like I said, you know, before I got into like the rap, like I said before, it was growing up. My dad was like the world's biggest like AC/DC fan, so I was constantly, you know, to this day, my dad's like, anytime there's a new album, I go out and buy it just to give it to my dad. It's like, hey, Dad, here's a new AC/DC record.
Yeah. Well, you know, for me with The Wall, I just looking back, I'm thinking side 3 is probably to me is probably like the strongest high point of that whole album. I just absolutely love all of side 3. I love Hey You. You know, that there's just that guttural lyric that's in there. You know, you have the beautiful somberness of is there anybody out there? Nobody home. Vera, bring the boys back home. And then of course you have the Comfortably Numb to finish the side with that just ridiculous solo. You know, the guitar solo that just makes your hair on your teeth just stand up.
I'm just thinking about it now.
And have goosebumps. You know, it's just amazing. Just an
Funny story about that. Go on YouTube right now and watch reaction videos of people listening to it for the first time.
Mhm.
The amount of tears that fall. After the lyrics have stopped during the guitar solo, that's when everybody breaks down and starts crying. It's like they're hearing actual real music. They're learning how to feel music for the first time.
I mean, it you know, people can say what they want to, but there's a reason why David Gilmour is my favorite guitar player to ever walk this earth. And that's because that man can make a guitar inject raw emotion into your ears.
Yeah.
Nobody else that I've ever listened to has been able to do that.
He's not a shredder. He is not he's not a crazy player, but man, I challenge you to find anybody else who can wring that much emotion out of a guitar solo.
Thank you.
I was telling
To me, I would, to me, this is just my opinion, I would rank, to me, Joe Bonamassa right up there. Because when I hear him play,
But I don't think I could hear Joe Bonamassa play something as strong as Comfortably Numb.
I mean, I wouldn't say as
No.
strong as that, but just enough to me to like convey some form of emotion. I don't know. It's just I'm a big Joe Bonamassa fan. I absolutely adore that man.
The only person that I can think of that would come close to a Gilmour would be a Gary Moore, a la Still Got the Blues.
Yeah.
Because
I would
that
agree.
opening lick is, I mean, that is Gilmore-esque.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend last night about Comfortably Numb, and after the solo ended, I told him, I said, David Gilmour just said more with that 5-minute guitar solo than a poet could say in a book.
Mm-hmm.
But
Now,
a little.
Imagine this. Now, Roger Waters had two things to do when it came to doing The Wall. They could have either done The Wall, or they could have done the story that wound up being Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. You imagine if they'd gone with the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking instead of The Wall?
I think they made the right choice.
I think they did too.
But,
You know, for me, go ahead, Jason. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, on a little personal note, as a guitar player, one of my proudest moments, though, was when I was finally able to play the intro to Run Like Hell correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That little that is, yeah.
I always loved when they would play it. I would sit there for the entire time and just whatever. I'd sit not even in a chair, just in the floor against the wall, and just watch the two of them just play this masterpiece. Just sit there, just me, just like, all right, what you got? All right, what you got? Like, you know, just sitting there. Like, I felt like, you know, it's just like, wow, like these two, when they played, oh, I felt it. It was, you know, like I said, it was, you know, just like listening to the album itself. These two.
Well, for many, many years, The Wall was probably my favorite album of all time. For many, 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 many years. Don't think it's quite there anymore now, but I still enjoy the album. And the only reason I'm not talking about it tonight is because I knew you guys would probably be talking a lot about it. So I won't talk much more about The Wall. However, for my last one, which is a repeat, it was one of those nights when you turned out the lights and everything comes into view.
Yep.
She was taking her time. I was losing my mind. There was nothing that she wouldn't do. Come on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, yes, I can't say this would be my favorite. I probably like The Wall better over this, but I knew you guys would be talking a lot about it. But I love this. Of all the Bon Scott albums of AC/DC, I love this one the most. I love the Bon Scott era more than I like the Brian Johnson. There was just something about the Bon's delivery. It just, you just couldn't get with Brian. And there's good reasons why Brian just doesn't do a lot of Bon Scott material, because it's a different type of vocal and he just doesn't do that. He just can't pull that delivery off. So
to me, not to interrupt, but to me, Bon brought this sleazy element that AC/DC has always had, but he brought it better than Brian ever could.
Oh yeah.
Because it was his voice, and like you said, his delivery. He had that sleaze in his voice that
I mean,
it fit their lyrical
touch too much.
So
I mean, come on, that is just
absolutely.
That is such a sleazy song, but oh my gosh, it is so good. That groove, everything is just nailed perfectly.
And even though it's not on that particular album, I mean, I prefer Bon's version of Whole Lotta Rosie.
Oh,
way better than Brian. Way better.
Brian doesn't do good with that. You know, I agree with that. So we got a lot of solid choices here, but let's throw it out. Let's throw it out to the honorable mentions and see if we had anything that just maybe missed the cut. So Roger, you got any honorable mentions to throw out there?
Yeah, the first Rainbow album without the mighty Dio, Down to Earth. I don't think that's talked enough anymore.
Okay.
Even though it was better commercially, and
since you've been gone and stuff like that. Yeah.
All Night Long was a bigger hit, I believe. But and it's a lot, like I said, a lot more radio friendly, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And like I said in the previous video, Blackmore's a genius.
Absolutely.
Okay. JD, you got any honorables to
I,
throw
I
out there
got,
real
I
quick?
got, I got a few just real quick. Ryan's number 5, the Riot album, Rita. Oh, I heard that thing again this morning to just prep myself. Just oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna look in some more of their stuff. It was just amazing. Just did not once let up. And I thought I liked their cover of Born to Be Wild. Like when I first heard it, I was like, man, the song, because it was, a different take on it. And I was like, wait a minute, why does this song sound so familiar? And I was like, wait, I know this song.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was terrible because I grew up to Born to Be Wild.
I mean, I did too, but it just threw me off because I was like, wait a minute, why does this sound, and obviously the 2 Motorhead albums, Bomber and Overkill, both of those were, it's Motorhead. Like it just sucks the fact that it's like we're doing a 5, and it's like, oh. But yeah, the 2 Motorhead albums, to me, I really enjoyed those. One that caught me, Love Hunter by Whitesnake.
I know a lot of folks who love that early Whitesnake stuff.
That
before it
one,
slided in and all that.
and One More Love Drive by Scorpions. Except for
Thankfully, we that was thankfully I don't have one to show for that. So
yeah.
sorry, folks.
The only thing that threw me off was track number 3, Always Somewhere. As soon as it got going, I was like, wait a minute, I heard this before. And the whole time it was going, I could not separate myself from Simple Man by Leonard. Like I was like, as soon as it got going, I was like, wait a minute, what? Am I here? But yeah, but other than that, it was, I'm not really too familiar. I mean, I am from I just know I think with the Scorpion, it comes to 2 big hits, the radio stuff. But
yeah,
I'm ever since we've been doing this just every year that we've done, it's opened me up to wanting to look into more, of the bands that, and like I said, I never knew before Whitesnake were what they became was, oh my God. Was some
totally
of the
different band.
yeah,
they were
blues, just straight in the
a
blues.
Zeppelin ripoff band, essentially.
Essentially.
I think that might
Okay.
do it. Yeah, the Damn Torpedoes by Tom Petty was really good. I tried to give The Police a chance, couldn't do it.
I actually
listened
like
to
that
it,
album.
but-
That was a good one.
You should never.
Regatta
do
de
it.
Blanc was good. I liked that.
I've gotten to this weird thing in my head where I love to hear Sting sing.
No.
It's just something about the way he sings to me, and it drives my she starts laughing every time a Police song comes on and we're in the car because I'm just singing it.
I can't stand Roxanne. I that's about the only song. There's only 2 songs by the Police I purposely skip. Roxanne is one of them. Mother is the other, off Synchronicity. So there you go. But going back,
I tried, but it's just that one. It's the one song to me, but everything else I couldn't get into. Message in a Bottle, and that was it. But nothing else did it for me.
the thing with the Scorpions, they were like a tale of a bunch of different bands. The Yuli John Roth era is a completely different sound, and then Yuli John Roth leaves, and then Matthias Jabs comes in after Schenker comes back. Michael Schenker comes back for a little bit. And then that's when they get into that more commercial, and that's more what I'm familiar with, the Matthias Jabs era from up to about Animal Mag, Blackout, No Love at First Thing, Animal Magnetism, and that was really the last album I listened to them until the current one. But yeah,
Klaus is a ridiculously good singer.
Yeah, I saw them in '88. That was an amazing show.
People shouldn't be able to sing as good as he does.
This is true.
Jason, what you got? You got any other extra honorable mentions?
Not anything that super stands out, but there were a couple of records that I did listen to that didn't make the list that I thought were decent. One is from another Canadian band. They're called Street Heart, and it's Under Heaven, Over Hell, which
Okay.
it was not a bad record. And the other was Desolation Angels by Bad
Bad
Company.
Company. Yes.
And that was a pretty good record.
It's all part of my rock and roll fantasy.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, good song.
Great album. Yeah. Good stuff. Ben, you got any extra honorable mentions?
I'll talk about a couple real quick. So first one that I listened to prepping for this project was what was Sabbath's record? Technical Excellence or
Ecstasy.
Technical Ecstasy.
Yeah, that one was great. It sounded like an awesome prelude to what was to come with Blizzard and Diary of a Madman. It sounded like an Ozzy solo album almost.
Actually, it was Never Say Die that came out in 79. Technical Ecstasy, I think, was 77 or 78.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I might be mixed up on that. Thinking about the
76 it came out.
76. So that was for the 76
Yeah.
album. So never mind on that one. Dynasty by Kiss. I love I Was Made for Loving You. Great song. Their highest trolling song ever, I think.
It's funny. I hate that album. Yet I Was Made for Loving You was the song played at my wedding. So figure that out.
It's a good song.
But the
Yeah.
rest of the album is not, I'm not going to say garbage because I don't want to disrespect the Army. But it's not as strong as their Love Gun. It's not as strong as Destroyer. You know,
It's solid.
it's middle ground. They didn't have a lot of passion for that one, I don't think. Van Halen 2. I tried it. It was too sporadic for me. It was all over the place. I couldn't get into it that much.
Yeah. I love Eddie. I love
Yeah.
Eddie to death. But I'm not. I don't know, something about some of the David Lee Roth era to me just kind of.
Yeah. And my last honorable mention, like Roger said, Down to Earth by Rainbow.
I totally forgot that one came out. I felt terrible.
Here's all I'm gonna say on this one. The opening track, All Night Long, sounds like a song that Desmond Child wrote and gave to Kiss, and they turned it down.
I can hear
What
that.
else can you say?
Dad,
I can see that.
me too.
So as far as me, the only other thing I would add Dynasty as well. I personally love the Ace tracks. I love Save Your Love. I love Hard Times. Yeah, 2000 Man's okay. The cover of the old Rolling Stones song, it's okay. I like it. I like this. I Was Made for Loving You. I like Sure Know Something. Magic
Oh, yeah.
Touch, I thought was a good track. I like Peter's track, Dirty Livin'. It's the only track he plays plays drums on the album. To me, Gene's two songs were kind of the weak links. X-Ray Eyes is kind of my least favorite. And I like Charisma. It's okay. But I like the album. I have good memories, but you got to remember, pretty much those a lot of that stuff was heavily recorded. Like Ace did pretty much all his stuff on his own.
Yeah.
Paul's songs were pretty much all his own, his own playing. So it really wasn't a total band thing.
Wasn't this them coming back after them?
This is coming after the solo album.
Yeah.
And of course, Peter doesn't play on the album except for Dirty Livin', and it's Anton Fig. But yeah, I mean, you could tell the band was fractured at that point because they just
Anton Fig plays for Joe Bonamassa now.
Yep.
yeah. And so the other one that I'm going to talk about that I'm kind of surprised didn't get a mention, but I would be remiss to not talk about 1979 when you had one of the probably the most purest live albums to grace the earth, with probably very little of any studio overdubs, and it's just a straight up solid live album. And I'm talking about Strangers in the Night by UFO. This is a great live album that I only discovered about maybe a year or two ago. And I had people telling me, what do you mean you never heard that album? It's only like the best live album ever. And boy, after I listened to him, I'm like, yeah, I can agree with that. And so what I did, this is a box set. This has all of the shows that made the album up. So you get all of the shows in its entirety in this box set. So that became like a thing because I think Yes did that with a couple of albums. I think Clapton did it, and I think a couple of other bands did that, where you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you get like 6 shows that they pulled all the songs from, and of course you have the main album. But I haven't had a chance to listen to everything yet. I've been trying to get through it all, but everything just sounds so good. I mean, just really a solid album.
I think Doctor Doctor on that album's one of the best songs.
Yeah.
Period.
I mean,
I
gosh,
love that song. I know it's Iron Maiden's theme song.
yeah, they always play it
Which is
before they
kind of
open it.
funny. That's how I discovered them.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
I know, right?
That's another honorable mention. The Soundhouse tape
Yeah,
dropped in
can't-
'79.
Yeah, I can't
Right.
forget about the Soundhouse tapes.
Yep.
Which
Boy,
Prelude to what
wouldn't you like to have a copy of that, an original copy of that? Huh?
yeah,
Boy,
are you
that's
fixing
a
to
holy
pull-
grail.
Are you fixing to pull one out? Is that what you're reaching?
No, no,
Oh.
I don't. No. I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford that one. I might get a bootleg of it sometime, but no, I couldn't afford that one. So
I tried to, it's on Apple Music. I tried to
Yeah.
know it's on YouTube. I
Yeah.
tried to listen to it. It's the quality is not good.
yeah, there's not a lot of good quality recordings of it out there, but
No.
wow, what a good ride 1979's been. This has been a lot of great selections. Not as many duplicates as I was expecting, other than Highway to Hell and The Wall, but there's been a lot of great stuff tonight. So if you let me know what you thought about 1979 in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. You know all the lingo. Guys, this was a great night. Thank you guys for doing this with me.
Oh, yeah.
Let's come back and do this again with something. We'll talk off air about it. But for the North and South rock and metal connection, we got Roger Serreras, we got JD Akins, we got the brothers Carson and JD and Jason and Ben. I am John Clauser, the Metal Dad, coming to you from my music corner of the world. Peace out. We'll see you all soon.